Okay, so we're taking the pistons out. They come out in this order. And that piece there faces down. Okay, so we'll put this upside down. There is an inner and outer spring. Okay, we'll put that upside down here like that. Right. Then there's this. Oh, is that 2 rings? Looks like 2. Yeah, it is. So there's this flat one that sits on, and then that sits on top of it. So that comes over here and goes upside down like that. Then the seal thing comes out, and let's see if we can't grab that in one continuous shot here. This will be one continuous shot. Okay. Yeah, let's see here. And that comes out. Oh, that's not it. That's not it. Well, let's see. Oh, okay. The piston comes out. That would be like that. Okay. And then this piece comes out next, and we'll pull that out and show that to you. Okay, so this is how I've marked them. Left facing that way, which is where this piece is. So left 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. One right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And I'm just stacking them over there. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this rod, we're gonna tap it here, or tap the thing all the way out, and as we tap it out, we're removing these rocker arms, and we'll put those in the proper numbering and alignment. I may put a mark on them just so we can see which ones are which, but there you go. Okay, so how these are set up, the big circle on this side of the engine facing that away towards the shaft, and big circle on the other side facing in that direction. So there's the shaft, there's the pipe, big holes in that direction, on that side, in that direction. Okay, that was a tough one. That was on there tightly. So that sat in there like that. We got that out. There the bolts go there. All right, next thing that comes out is these bushings, rubber bushings there, and there. Also on the other end, there and there, and these are replaceable. And then we'll pop these out as well. And I will try to figure out the numbering. I don't know if it matters, but I don't think it matters because these are just clips. So we'll just pop these out. Okay, so really only one way this comes off is this way. This little bolt here matches up with this. So that you just pry off. That goes over here. And the next thing that's coming off is this, and pop that off, and that'll go right there. Okay, so took this out. It's a star bolt, not a hex, star bolt. And that comes out. put that over there. This thing fell off as I was holding it upright. We'll figure out where that goes. Okay, so to keep the orientation correct, the engine is upside down. We're referring to that as passenger side and this is driver's side, not when the engine is in the proper normal position, but with the engine upside down. What I've done is I've numbered it in the center here, but off to the right, as you're looking at the engine upside down, there is a tiny mark right there. And I put that on every one of these. Here we go. And let's see, where's this one? See that mark off to the right? That's number 5. And then 6, same thing. I've marked it right there. Boy, you can barely see it, but there it is. Right there. Okay, over to the right-hand side. And on the table piece, number 2, I put that mark right there on the right-hand side. Okay? All right. Okay, so now we've got to, as we're looking at the engine from underneath, okay? So when I talk about left and right and driver's side, etc., that's with the engine spun around. I'm not talking about it when the engine is in its normal position, okay? So as it's upside down, what's driver's side and what's passenger side, not when it's in its proper position. All right, if we look at number 1, it has some lettering down there. That is towards the back of the engine. Driver's side as the engine is upside down. That one we've taken out. This one, let's see, what's some identifying marks on this one? Okay, so the arrow, yeah, right, the arrow is pointing towards the passenger. It's also pointing that direction. Let's see here. What do we got here? Is that some stuff? Okay, so you've got some kind of notches off to the side here, off to the passenger side. So when this is upside down. Number 4, how can we tell the difference? Let's see here. Well, towards the back, it shifted more towards the passenger side, while the front dots are shifted more towards the driver's side, right? Well, no, because if it's the opposite, it'll still be that way. Shoot. All right, we got to figure out something. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a single mark on that side. Let me do that. Just to make sure these cylinders go back exactly, not only in the same hole, but in the same orientation. You can see that the ridges are like this. If it was spun around, it would also be like that, wouldn't it? No, okay, I see. Here you've got a flat ridge facing to the left of the engine. That's the front of the engine, driver's side. So driver's side has kind of a ridge here, and it's just a slopey valley on the passenger side. So driver's side has the ridge, and that's true of all the cylinders in here. So that'll keep our orientation. I may mark the underside of these cylinders just to make sure that this and, for example, number 2 match up again. So let me also document where I put the markings so we can remember not to put it in like this, but put it in the same way. And here's our ridge, so we got it lined up like we would in the engine. Okay, that's how we're going to do it. Okay, so just to keep things interesting, And also because this one was marked with a 2, so I didn't want to make it confusing and mark it with a different number set. Starting at the back of the engine towards the transmission, this being the front of the engine, right? Front of the car, front of the engine, back of the engine towards the transmission. I have marked this one as, yes, 1. Okay? Keep your comments to yourself. 2, because it had the number 2 on it. That keeps it consistent. 3, 4, 5. I know it says 6 on it. Nothing I can do about it, but there's 5. And 6. Okay? So in the opposite order that you're supposed to be. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, so they say to mark these before you pull them out so that they're in the right order. I noticed that this one is, if you look really closely, it's hard to zoom in on it, but there's a 1 marked there. There is a 2 marked there. This one has no mark, but you would expect 3. And then, let's see, this one, also no mark. That would be 4. This one is marked as 6, but it should be 5. And let's see, and this one here, there we go, no mark. So looks like someone at some point pulled this engine and did not put them back in the correct order. So now the question is, since most of them are rubbed away, I can't tell what order they're supposed to be in. I say we leave them in the current order. And I will mark them with a stamp. I'll stamp a 1 dot on this one, 2 dots on that one, 3 dots on that one, 4 dots on that one, 5 dots on that one. Oh, it even says 6 on it. All right, 5 dots on that one and 6 dots on that one. Yeah, that's how we'll make sure they go back in the same space. Here, which has a broken seal, it would appear. That comes out there. That's set in the leg of the oil pump over here on the 1 bolt side, not the 2 bolted side. That just pulls right out. And like I said, looks like there's some kind of seal that's broken on that side. And that sat right inside this leg, this little hole right there. Sat right up in there. Okay. Now the next thing to come out, here's the dipstick, we'll take that out. Next thing that comes out is the oil filter. I think that's what that is. Okay, next thing to be removed is the oil pump. Okay, well, we have taken the head off, and there's the head gasket. Doesn't look like any real damage. I flipped the engine, and now we're going to take the oil pan off. Okay, first look at the head gasket. Doesn't appear to be much damage, although there's a lot of oil burning in the cylinder heads, but no obvious channels, but we'll take that off and check underneath there. Okay, head bolts are all out and arranged front to back, left to right. Okay, next thing are the head bolts. Head bolts coming out. Never mind, that is the next thing to go. This one and that one, and this comes off. All right, that's the water pump. There's a spring-loaded thing that sticks in there, so we'll remember that. Okay, leave that there for now. Okay, next thing that comes off is the timing belt. try to mark this just in case it's important. And then after that is the water pump. And those are those bolts here. So then the water pump comes off. Okay, so the guy in the video doesn't have this plastic cover thing, which I think needs a seal, but this isn't there. You can't get this off unless this comes off. So this has to come off. So I can take this off, take that off, and take the rest of it off. So this is coming out. Timing belt cover, an eyelet. Okay, distributor cover and distributor. Bearing cover holder. Okay, to get to this second bolt, this is in the way. So we have to loosen this and then move this out of the way. And then we'll put it back once we've removed it. Okay, now the piston sensor mount. Okay, next is the oil filter head. Now the engine mounts. Now the alternator mount. Now the alternator holding bolt. Now the crank pulley bolts. Now the pulley comes off. Okay, crankshaft bolt came out after a lot of hard work, a little master blaster and a 1/2 inch. I did notice that on this crankshaft bolt, the threads go down to this point, and then there's some kind of flattened welded piece. I don't know what that is, but the threads don't allow it to go any further in. So I don't know if that has to be replaced or not. And I'll have to inspect the inside to see what's going on there. Okay. Now the alternator comes off. We got that bolt, and this bolt goes there and there, through that and that. All right. Well, doesn't look like any of the rocker arms are broken. That's good. Yeah. All right, time to flip it over and... Oh my gosh. All right, we need a second table. I filled this table here. Now I've got to get a second table from Home Depot, and we'll put all the internal engine parts on that second table. And that'll be done tomorrow. Time for a glass of wine. Okay, so now we're taking off the bolts for the top cover. We'll pop that off and take a look at the rockers. Okay, so now this tube, uh-oh, that's been smudged away. Shit. There's 29, this is probably 28. Connected here, and then wrapped around and connected there. That's coming out. And then the smaller tube looks like 28. Oh, I see, 28 and 29, there we go. So all these three is connected there, small one, and the big one, so that comes off. Okay, now this tube with the spring that fits down into here, that comes out. Okay, so it turns out this dipstick tube blocks this from allowing the whole thing to come out. So I'm gonna undo these bolts here, then this piece will come out. It's already removed from the tubes, and then that should allow the whole top to come out. Okay, so we got it on the motor stand, or the engine stand. Got these set up, somewhat symmetrical in the back here. Didn't have the right bolts, 3.5, so I mean, I guess 30, no 90, so I went with 100mm long bolts, which is too long. So in order to fix that, I've got 6 washers here to make up the difference, and those fit quite nicely. So this is locked into place, and I can spin it around as I'm working on it. And there's the rest of everything else spread out on the table. I think I'm gonna need a second table once I start getting into this engine. Don't want to mix parts up and stuff. So that'll be the weekend's job, or the job for this weekend. But there it is, all set and ready to be taken apart. On our way in to get the piston rings. Okay, so all right, next comes the flywheel with all these hex bolts coming out. All right, taking out the flywheel. Some of these bolts are Torx, but some of them are hex. So what I've taken off so far, here's some printed material here. So I've taken this off and this off, and the rest of them appear to be hex. So 1, 2, 3, those look like hex, so we'll try that with hex. Okay, so we got the transmission off. Transmission screws are marked with trans. And there's the starter motor. So transmission is off, here's our engine. And now we're taking the flywheel off. Okay, starter motor fits in there. This bolt just came out, similar one over there. There we go. On this side of the transmission, we got a double bolt and nut right up here near the top. Okay, so we're taking off this piece of the transmission cover, which is separate from the transmission. Has one bolt and then multiple hex bolts. This long hex bolt is on the left side of the transmission as viewed from the back. Excuse me, on the right side is viewed from the back, right there. On the right hand side is the long bolt, and then the left hand side is the middle bolt, and then the short one on the left hand side. Okay. Finally. Got it out. Boy. Let's hope the second, third, and fourth time it goes easier than this. Luckily, I still have the BMW engine mount bracket still intact on this car. So everything's chains, no fabric or anything like that. All right. Gutted. Okay, now we're also going to take that bolt off. We're going to remove and snip this. We're going to remove the intake here and disconnect that there. So I'll take this bolt off, and unhook this, and then this will be separated. These two lines here will be separated from the engine, so we can get the engine out. All right, well, it turns out in order to move this entire cluster out, I have to disconnect all this, and I'm not doing that. So we'll leave this wire cluster here. It's got a big arc. I can get the engine out from underneath it. Doesn't look like there's anything else attached to the engine. I may not even need to move the protector for the oil pan. Because the engine can't go any further down than the cross links. So now I think it is time to put a jack under the engine. Oh, disconnect the transmission from the drive shaft. So let's do that. Okay, in order to move this giant wire cluster that we've been working on all here, just to get it up and off the engine, I have to disconnect this. This is pretty obvious looking that it's no other place it can connect to, so we'll just not mark that one. Okay, whew. Let's see here. So now we got the 20, 21, 22, and 23. Did I mark 23? I'll mark that as 23 right there. This little green wire right here. It sits on top back there. So 24 will be from this instrument cluster attached to, yikes, 13, I think. So we'll mark this as 24 right there. And we'll cut these holders, but 24 is this one right here. Now, we got another one in there, and that's that green wire. That's going on the top little screw there. So not the passenger side, not at the bottom, which is number 22. This will be marked as 23, little green wire on the very top here. All right, well, this tricky little bastard. It turns out that 20 and 21 attached to this nut, nothing attaches to that one, and that black wire attaches to a third spot on the bottom. So number 22 goes to the bottom, not to the passenger side. Okay, just to follow up. So the red one went on first, and then this black one went on second. So 20, 21, and then the last one will be 22. Oh, and we'll mark these as 20, 21, and 22 on the back side there. All right, this is a toughie. So this one right here, which has a red wire, which is, hold on a second. Let's see what's going down here. Okay, so red wire and this extra wire here, these two are attached to the connector on the driver side. And then this black wire, which comes out, that is connected over here to the passenger side. All right, so that thing comes, it's gonna loosen that up and release that. Okay, now the next thing is, I've snipped this one off, oops, zip tied here. So now we're gonna unplug it there, and that wire goes down to the bottom of the engine. So that gets disconnected and marked as 18. Okay, got those off. The alternator, marked it as ALT, alternator. This little wire here is zip tied to this piece off the engine, so that gets snipped. Okay, so now what we've got is coming out of this cluster, this wire cluster, there's a smaller wire going down and attaches red towards the driver's side and a thin, what looks like black or green or blue wire on the bottom or passenger side. So red towards the driver's side, and this thin green or whatever it is down towards the passenger side. So we'll remove these in order to free up this wire. Okay, got that connector off from there for the oil stick. Now we're going to snip the zip tie here. That's part of one of the big wires coming out of that wire cluster. Snip it there and snip it here, only so I can lift this up over this. So when we put it back in, we're going to put it back down on the other side, the inside of the oil stick. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we are going to release that bolt there, which holds the dipstick, so that this wire cluster can get on the other side. So when I pull the engine out, it won't pull this cluster out with it. Okay, mark those wires with a great big 0, which means not attached to anything except zip tied to that rod down there. Okay, so it looks like we got some wires here coming from the engine and that are just strapped to this rod here. So with a zip tie, so we're going to break that zip tie right there. Okay, so we are getting closer and closer. So if we get this pipe out of the way, you see this wire here going down to the oil pan and then touching up here. I think that's a ground wire. So we will remove that ground wire and mark that one as 16. Okay, don't know if it's necessary, but this wire connects to that large cluster, and then this one goes around the back side of the engine here. But I'm gonna clip this zip tie and maybe disconnect this so that we can move this out of the way. Okay, so the wire cluster that contains this thing here, all coming out of that. We're gonna snip it, a plastic zip tie here, and zip tie there, and a zip tie there, so that it's separated from the engine. Okay, so coming out of this thing that's got the number 6 on it, we'll also have a number 14, and then this wire will go all the way to the other side. I guess we'll leave that with the engine, but that is going to be number 14. Number 7 is coming out of here, and there's a thing that goes right up to there, so we'll pop that out. Let's put a mark on that. We'll call that 13. There'll be a number 13 on that one. Okay, after the last race weekend where the car just was not pulling, I can take them in the turns, but I cannot take them on the straights. No power. So I took it to Carb Connection in Redmond, or Woodinville rather, and turns out that the dyno shows a max horsepower of 140, 141. And then I brought it home, did a leak down test, and cylinders 1 and 6 failed. Put some oil in the cylinders, tried it again, and it was up to like 98%, so 2% leakage, which indicates the rings are bad in 1 and 6. The other one's 2% leakage, so they're really good. But these were down at, I think, 20 and 25. So going to replace the rings on that, which means the engine comes out of the car. Had all 12 bolts, one on top and one down below for each of the 6 exhaust pipes, except for one. And I could not get that thing out, and as you can see, there isn't a whole lot of room. You can't come up from underneath, and you can't come up from the top, so you got to stick your arm in from the side, or from the front, to try to get it off. Tried everything, and then finally moved to MAP gas and upside down Indust, which sprays out a really cold fluid that cracks the rust. And then you put a little paraffin wax in there, and that loosens it up. And then I managed to get it off. Now I did have to use, because I mangled up this stupid bolt, I'd mangled it up quite a bit trying to get it off. So the 12 millimeter wouldn't fit anymore. So I had to go to a half inch. Now, a half inch is just slightly bigger than 12 millimeters, which is why it's good to always keep your SAE tools around. Never know when you might need them. Besides, inches is the way to measure anything properly. In any event, the bolt has finally come off, and now I can proceed with taking this off, the rest of the stuff off, and then pull the engine out, and we'll go from there. Two, 4, 6, 1, 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6.